Nigerian Navy inaugurates new assets to secure waters.
This commissioner is therefore a reflection of our determination to empower our institutions and protect our resources.
AU Peace and Security Council inducts new members.
Vision and recommendations must be profound, pragmatic, and practical.
NDLEA foils pilgrims cocaine smuggling syndicate to Saudi Arabia.
In Nigeria today, we shall continue our conversation on 2 years of Tinubu administration housing sector, plus national dialogue for citizen engagement and national security.
Last Monday, the 26th of May, on Good Morning Nigeria, we began a crucial conversation looking at 2 years of President Tinubu's administration with a spotlight on the housing sector. That's right, Demola. Very interesting conversation we had then, and we had insightful perspectives from architect Ahmed Musa Dengiwa, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development, and Damola Akindelere, a public-private partnership consultant on the Renewed Hope Cities project. Yeah, you're right, Jumai. They detailed how the administration is tackling Nigeria's housing deficit through the Renewed Hope Cities and Estate Development Program, a flagship effort designed to create inclusive, affordable urban spaces for Nigerians. Now, this morning, we're continuing that conversation on a sector that remains central to President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda: housing. Housing. 2 years into the administration, how far have we come? We'll be examining the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, its partnership with the private developers, and how effective these collaborations have been in making housing accessible and affordable. And of course, what challenges still lie ahead? What does the future hold for the sector? These are some of the questions we will be exploring today as we take a deeper look at the housing roadmap and its impact on everyday Nigerians. So stay with us as we explore the policies, partnerships, and prospects shaping Nigeria's housing landscape. I am Ademola Adeoye, and as always, we are glad to have you start your day. I mean, that's this month of June. Yeah, the month of June. The first day of the week. Of the week. Yeah. Indeed, and that's not all, you know, Demola. The second part of the program will be turning our attention to an equally important conversation: national dialogue on citizen engagement and national security. It promises to be quite engaging. I am Jumwe Yusuf. We're live on the network service of the NTA. And in just a moment, Chukudi Okolu-Gbaja will be here with the newspaper review. But before Chukudi comes here, but first, let's catch up with the top stories making the headlines with Stella Namete, who is sitting by with the morning news. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Ademola and Jumwe. You both are looking very good this morning. I like the combination. Thank you. Okay. Now the news. In a renewed demonstration of its commitment to national security, the Nigerian Navy has inaugurated 3 newly acquired patrol vessels and tracker helicopters. President Bola Tinubu, who was represented, says his administration will leave no stone unturned to ensuring Nigeria's territorial integrity is secured.
These patrol ships and helicopters are force multipliers in our fight against piracy, oil theft, illegal fishing, and other maritime crime. This commissioner is therefore a reflection of our determination to empower our institutions and protect our resources.
The collective commitment of member nations to foster a more secured, stable and prosperous Africa while laying the foundation for a brighter future on the continent is being pursued with deliberate efforts. This is the aim of the Military Staff Committee of the African Union Peace and Security Council at the induction of new members in Lagos, Nigeria. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, presided over the three-day event.
Decisions and recommendations must be profound, pragmatic, and practicable. They must have real-world implications that will impact lives, shape communities, and determine the trajectory of our future.
Nigeria is taking a lead in the African Union's Sustainable Development Agenda through a deliberate effort by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renewed Hope Agenda. This view was shared by stakeholders at the AUDA NEPAD Management and Staff Capacity Building Workshop in AU Agenda 2063 and National Action Implementation Process held in Kaduna.
Agenda 2063 is not just a document. It is Africa's blueprint for inclusive and sustainable development. It presents a vision of a continent that is integrated, prosperous, and peaceful, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena.
The maiden edition of the late Hajia Abibat Mogaji Tinubu Quranic recitation competition has rounded up in Kano, with winners going home with prizes including houses and Hajj seats. The competition, which was convened by the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters, received the blessings of Islamic leaders of all sects from Nigeria and abroad.
It is a spiritual journey, a testament to dedication, discipline, and devotion. The Holy Quran is the divine word of Allah.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have uncovered and dismantled a syndicate that sponsors Hajj pilgrims who also serve as couriers to smuggle cocaine to Saudi Arabia during pilgrimage. This development follows the arrest of the cartel's leaders in Kano. Each person excreted 45 wraps of cocaine, totaling 90 pellets. And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Ademola and Jume after this commercial break.
I am Oluremi Tinubu, the global and national Stop TB champion. Many people have asked why I've chosen to champion the fight against a disease like tuberculosis. My reason stems from a deep personal experience. I once had a friend who unfortunately fell ill and concealed the nature of his sickness until it was too late. Eventually, after he passed, we discovered he had tuberculosis. Sadly, due to the stigma and discrimination surrounding the disease, he would not speak up or seek for help. His death was a painful reminder that we could have intervened and saved a life if only we had known earlier. Tuberculosis is an airborne disease that primarily affects the lungs, but can also impact other parts of the body. Being airborne means anyone, regardless of their social economic status, can contract it. In Nigeria, one person dies of TB-related illness every 7 minutes, amounting to 206 deaths every day. Globally, one person succumbs to TB every 25 seconds, which is a staggering 3,456 lives lost daily. These deaths are entirely preventable because TB is curable if detected and treated early. If you or someone you know has been coughing for 2 weeks or more, coughing up blood, experiencing night sweats, or losing weight drastically, it might be TB. Please visit the nearest government hospital or primary healthcare center for proper diagnosis and treatment. TB treatment is free in all government and some private health facilities. Let us also remember not to stigmatize or discriminate against TB patients or those who have been treated for TB. Individuals who have been cured of TB cannot infect others. I call on all stakeholders, especially the private sector, to join us in the fight to end TB in Nigeria. Together, we can make a difference. Remember, TB anywhere is TB everywhere. End TB by 2030. Yes, we can.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Afam Bogeneka, Ebim Nagara Dimawa Village, Abuja, Nazo Afeba. So Esom Nandi register na NSR government register with my NIN. So government will use them ATM card. Njiwe wete 25,000 naira 3 times. And ega haya mketa barumuru na dem. Eji megoro makamihe. Jikweru mehendozo. Thank you.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Net's Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
Emeka, you come into my home and you see me and my family enjoying our golden morn, and you still proceed to talk about business.
Emma, it is very, very serious.
Yes, so there is serious news. Introducing the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 with milk already inside for your creamy, nutritious enjoyment. Get the new Golden Morn 3-in-1 for your family. From Nestle.
The concluding editions of the second year of President Tinubu anniversary documentary themed The Mission, The Masons, The Milestones come up with Lifting Nigerians Home and Abroad rounds off the series at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Stay tuned to the network service of the NTA.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
Does your toothpaste give you complete fresh protection? New Close-Up Toothpaste Complete Fresh Protection takes care of your 5 important oral care needs. It gives you strong teeth, prevents tooth holes, cleans deeply, fights bacteria, and gives you fresh breath. Complete fresh protection from Close-Up.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership.
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see
that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next on the program is Newspaper Review.
The newspaper reviewer Chukudi Okolu Baja is in the studio.
I am fully here, my sister. How was your weekend?
Alhamdulillah, it went well.
By His grace. Just believe in Him. Time cures everything if you're patient enough.
Yeah.
Demo, how are you doing?
Great.
You look good, as always.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Jumai.
Well, yeah, I was just waiting for you to talk about the UEFA Championship. Actually.
No.
So we have some papers that came in now, and let's quickly go through them. I have the... Mr. Demola, can you start?
Okay,
Yes.
let me start with the leadership newspaper.
Yeah.
The leadership newspaper says, just above the the nameplate, Buhari, Akpabio, Abbas, others mourn victims of Kano auto crash. Details of that story can be found on page 6. Then we have the $1 million grant. Experts raise concerns over misuse of foreign aid. Briefing, fast check. Why did Serap ask National Assembly to reject Tinubu's loan request? Kano athletes die in auto crash. Mokwa flood, death toll hits 153. 2027 disquiet in APC over automatic tickets. APC governors may meet Ganduje after Salah. I will follow party's decision, Uzodinma, and many more. Then we have 50 killed, 15 churches shot in Makadi Catholic Church. Details of that story can be found on page 6. IMF analyst caution federal government over increasing debt. Details on page 84. Abuja water shortage due to plant rehabilitation. Wike. Details of that story can be found on page 78. Federal government moves to cut $1.5 billion dairy imports. Details on page 17. Are you set now, Joanne?
Yeah, I'm set.
Okay.
Let's quickly go to the Daily Times newspaper this morning. Daily Times newspaper. We begin just above the masthead. NDLEA arrests 2 Saudi-bound pilgrims, intercept 9.3 billion naira opioids. Find the details on page 5. And below the picture story you see there, Nigeria security and political economy That's part 1. You want to find out what it's all about, you go to page 16. IOCs not exiting Nigeria. That's coming from the presidency. You find the details on page 2. FG backs NSITF expansion of employees compensation for public servants. Find details on page 11. Amechi gave Tinubu dose of his own medicine in 2022. That's coming from Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate. And Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, a rushed celebration of unfinished dream. That's coming from Ame. And no reason peace will not reign between me and my Oga. That's coming from the suspended Rivers State Governor Fubara. And the headlines in the Daily Times: judiciary workers begin nationwide indefinite strike today. Want all the details? You go to page 2. Let's quickly go to the Business Nigeria. And above the masthead of the Business Nigeria, let me go. Tinubu flags off 30-kilometer Lagos Calabar Highway section. Find the details on page 2. Above the masthead, Nigeria's economic shift, progress and promise yet to fulfill. Find the details on page 9. And NDIC begins payouts to Pearl microfinance depositors and stakeholders. If you're one of them, you go to page 2 for the details. And Serap, in the headlines, sues NMPCL over missing 500 billion naira oil revenue. You find all the details on page 2 too. And Dangote turns to U.S. crude again. Imports 5 million barrels of U.S. crude for July. You find all the details inside the paper. And Nigeria overtakes Sudan as Africa's worst for child malnutrition. That's quite alarming. And shutdown looms. 9 Mobile in financial crisis. Network will spark exodus. And at the bottom plate of the Business Nigeria, OPEC Plus output surge puts fresh pressure on Nigeria. Find the details on page 2, Mr. Chukudi. That's about what I have here.
Thank you. In journalism, if you can catch immediacy, you endeavor at recency. The news has to stay fresh.
Yeah.
So judiciary workers suspend planned strike for 2 weeks. That's coming from the Punch, so that we can update what the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria has directed its members nationwide to suspend their planned industrial action, originally scheduled to commence on Monday, June the 2nd. So that's the latest about it.
That's the latest.
And that, I think, is some reprieve. Let them talk it out. Let them discuss whatever the issues are. Let them jojo and not war. Now, let me start with the cup being half empty of water. There's a warning about the increasing debt. You know, just last week we said, hey, we thought we were stabilizing the economy. I still think the economy is stabilizing. Prices are going down, but we still admit that the going down is still above the minimum wage. We have to say it. So
now you're talking.
No, we have to, please. That's what we owe the people. And that's actually what we owe the government as well, if we are to be true to them. But you will first pat them on the back so they can do more. I tell people, that you can criticize. It's not what you say in criticism that matters. It's usually how you say it. That's it. That's why some people can tell a man to go to hell in a way that they look forward to the trip. Okay? So the debt, IMF and the analysts are cautioning over increasing debt. But the question I ask, why wait for people from outside to warn the federal government? I hope the Debt Management Office is not playing sycophancy. Very important.
Very important.
It's better that your children begin to tell you, Mommy, this is what you do no good, Daddy. Not for your uncles, because that could actually develop into a quarrel. But when you start from home, it is usually better. So if indeed economists think that we are beginning to stray into that region of concern, we have to be careful, because the job should be to keep on increasing the economy. But, you know, sometimes government will tell you that borrowing is not really a bad thing. It is the quantum effect of what it will create. Is it jobs that are coming? Is it going to raise the GDP ultimately?
Chooks,
and all that. Yes,
Chooks,
sir.
we're sorry, we have to borrow your time this morning.
Okay.
Because we are pressed for time.
Okay.
Please, we have to round up.
Oh, it's okay then.
It's okay. So we're borrowing your time.
No problem, my dear.
All right.
It happens sometimes.
Yes, it
All
does.
right, so we just take a break now. The Good Morning Nigeria will continue after the break. Stay with us.
Voice of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, presents the Von Forum 2025. Join us for thought-provoking speeches, panel discussions, and engaging interactive sessions as we focus on the theme, Citizens' Engagement and National Security under the Renewed Hope Agenda. Special guests include Chief Host Alhaji Muhammad Idris, FNIPR, Minister of Information and National Orientation. Chairman of the occasion, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, MNI, National Security Advisor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Special guest of honor, General Christopher Musa, OFR, Chief of Defense Staff. Host, Malam Jibrin Baba Ndache, MNIPR, Director General and Chief Executive Officer of Voice of Nigeria. Date, Tuesday, 3rd June 2025. Time, 9 a.m. Venue, Bon Hotel Octagon, Jahi, Abuja. A gathering of voices from across Nigeria. Announcer.
I am pleased to announce encouraging news from the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, for April 2025 only yesterday. According to the report, the headline inflation rate for April stood at 23.71%, This represents a decrease of 0.52% from the 24.23% recorded in March 2025. Similarly, month-on-month inflation dropped by a notable 2.04%, from 3.90% in March to 1.86% in April. This, of course, did not just happen by chance. The President is focused and is determined, and his determination and his interventions are clearly paying off. The benefits of reform, though gradual, are real and measurable.
The concluding editions of the second year of President Tinubu anniversary documentary themed The Mission, The Masons, The Milestones come up with Lifting Nigerians Home and Abroad rounds off the series at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Stay tuned to the network service of the NTA.
Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
At NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service, basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS, and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer management.
I want to play! I
want to play! Survey says... If my phone rings at 2 a.m., it's probably...
my mom.
An emergency.
Landlord. Achaluko. I will give you 1.5 million. After you smile finish, I will add extra 1.5 million just for you to move around. I will not add extra 2 million naira. Just for you to call me Odogu.
Family Feud Nigeria Season 3 is officially live.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Ethnicity is unique, we have more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to continue our conversation with borders on 2 years of Tinubu administration's focus on housing sector, here's an excerpt from our previous conversation put together by correspondent Timothy Yusuf.
The Renewed Hope Housing Program is a program of federal government of Nigeria under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's a transformative program in order to make housing a reality for Nigerians. Home ownership, I can say, a reality for Nigerians. It's aimed to make housing very accessible, inclusive, and affordable for all Nigerians and all cadres of Nigerians, from the high to the low, even to the low-income Nigerians. That's what the Renewed Hope Housing Program is all about. And when it came in 3 categories. We had the Renewed Hope Cities program, which is aimed to deliver 7 cities in the country, 1 in the federal capital, and then 1 in each geographical zone of the country, in the major cities of each of the zones. This is aimed to deliver 1,000 plus housing units in these locations.
And just like the Honourable Minister has mentioned, you know, the government realized very early on that the private sector needs to play a critical role in the delivery of housing for Nigerians. And that's why the private sector were able to mobilize very serious-minded, large-scale developers. Because the real issue here is when you look at the rental cost of rent, The real factor driving up rent is the lack of housing.
Yes.
That's within close proximity to the cities. So for us, developers had to come, apply to the ministry. We went through a normal process. And through that process now, we are talking about the Renewed Hope Cities, which is delivering 1,000 units in all 6 geopolitical zones and the FCT.
There are many ways, in such a way that the federal government has an institution, which is the primary mortgage bank, which is the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. It's the secondary mortgage market that can provide affordable mortgages to all Nigerians at the rate of 6%, which is the cheapest you can get. And with a large time of repayment, which is up to 30 years repayment. If you compare it with the private sector, they can only give you mortgage if you go to commercial bank for 5 years at almost 25%. Now with the MRIF, they can provide you 16% with maybe 20 years. So already there exists an institution that has branches in 36 states of the Federation, including FCT, that is providing that.
Thank you, Timothy, for putting together that excerpts from our last week discussion on the Tinubu administration on the housing. Now we have a continuation of that discussion, and we have in our studio, our guests are already seated. Joining us here to continue the conversation on 2 years of President Tinubu's administration focusing on the housing sector. Let me first introduce Shehu Usman Osidi, Managing Director of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. MD, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. Also joining us here is Barrister Festus Adebayo. Is the founder Housing Development Advocacy Network and founder Africa International Housing Show. Barrister Adebayo, it's been a while. Good to see you after a very long time.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we also have here seated in the studio Dr. Ugochukwu Chime. He's a housing expert and chairman, Presidential Land Reforms Tax Team, and member, Governing Council, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
This morning.
Jumai, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so let's kickstart this conversation this morning with the MD. We're still looking at the 2 years administration of President Tinubu's policy on housing. And as a key housing finance institution, how would you assess, the impact of the Renewed Hope housing program on the national landscape so far? And what is the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank in all this?
Thank you very much. I think I will start by saying that the President, from the beginning, identified housing as a major driver of the Nigerian economy. And he demonstrated it by, first, creating a housing ministry to stand alone. As you know, in the past, we used to have the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing. Then it came to Works and Housing. And so when he came, he decided to remove it from Works and created a standalone ministry as Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. That clearly shows a president that has a clear vision for housing. And the president also demonstrated further by appointing a professional in the built environment in the person of Architect Ahmed Musa Dengiwa as the Honorable Minister for Housing. Secondly, the president also introduced the Renewed Hope Housing Agenda, which was to be driven by the Honorable Minister of Housing, Architect Ahmed Dengiwa. And to your question, what is the role of the FMBN? In terms of assessing how far, I would say so far so good. Now, first, that has opened a vista of opportunities, created situations where both the private sector and the public sector can work together to amplify the benefits that are derivable from the housing sector. Now, what is the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria? As you know, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is the apex mortgage institution in Nigeria, created to pool resources together in terms of contributions for the from Nigerian workers, both in the public and private sectors, into the National Housing Fund. The idea is to give opportunities to Nigerians to contribute to a fund that will enable them to take a loan to own their houses. So what that does is that we have what we call a qualifying criteria. Every Nigerian contributes who is gainfully employed, either as a self-employed individual or in paid employment, is required by law to contribute 2.5% of his monthly income. Now, if you take a Nigerian who is earning 100,000 naira, 2.5% contribution would be 2,500. The law provides that if you contribute 2.5, which is 2,500 in this case, for 6 months, which is 15,000 naira, it gives you an opportunity to take a mortgage loan of between 5 million to 50 million, which you would pay back over a period of 30 years.
Okay, I mean, that contribution can actually give you opportunity to get a loan?
Yes, that's why I said the contribution is a qualifying criteria.
Okay.
It has no correlation with the amount of money you can borrow. Okay. What you can borrow as a mortgage loan depends on your income and the number of years you have in service. But that contribution is a qualifying criteria just for you to qualify to participate in the scheme. So you can imagine the opportunity that is there. You contribute 15,000, you have an opportunity to take a loan of between 10 to 50 million naira. Now, because of the central role of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, when the president pronounced the agenda, the Renewed Hope Housing Agenda, as driven by the Honorable Minister, the ministry also identified the fact that government cannot do it alone. Housing investment is capital intensive, as we all know. And so there was the need to also bring the private sector. And one of the reasons I said it was very critical and strategic for the president to appoint an expert in the housing sector is that when the minister came on board, one of the first things he did was to establish 4 reform task teams and give them an agenda to produce a blueprint and a roadmap for the implementation of the Minister President's agenda. And these 4 task teams were: 1, Housing Institutions Reform Task Team, that was charged with the responsibility of reforming the housing institutions, like the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, the Federal Housing Authority, etc. Second is the Building Materials Manufacturing Hub, which is also intended to create a building material manufacturing hub in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Then there was also the Land Reforms Task Team that was also to look at the obsolete laws, guiding and stifling housing transactions in Nigeria, to generally make recommendations on reforming the title documents with respect to land. And then the 4th is the National Social Housing Fund, which was also intended to create a fund where even individuals who are no income earners can have access, have shelter over their head. Okay. So now the role of the Federal Mortgage Bank is that the ministry signed an MOU between the Federal Ministry and a consortium of developers to build houses across the country. Okay. And the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria provided a bankable off-taker guarantee of 100 billion naira to enable this 100 billion
okay.
To enable these developers access funding for housing. And in any location where these houses are constructed, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria also provides mortgage loans for the individual beneficiaries of those houses. So in addition to the bankable off-taker guarantee that were provided, we are also involved in direct funding for the delivery of houses under the Renewed Hope agenda. But the idea is that because the private sector is borrowing from the private sector, the rates are higher, and so we are exploring the opportunity of a cross-subsidy so that low and medium income earners, who are the targets of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, can live in those communities by paying less.
Okay, by paying less. Our viewers, last week, most of you sent questions, for the Federal Mortgage Bank, and the MD CEO is seated here in the studio. So let's start getting your messages as they come in. Now, MD, I would like you to explain step by step, the major steps that the Federal Mortgage Bank has taken in the past 2 years to improve access, to affordable houses. And can you sort of elaborate on the structure and impact of your public-private partnership? Let's have a structure of how it works.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start with the second question, which is the structure of our public-private partnership. Now, we have this in a number of variants. The first one is where a private developer that has land can collaborate with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, where we will provide construction financing for the houses to be built. And when the houses are constructed, we will again create mortgage loans for individual beneficiaries who are going to be off-takers of those houses. Now, as an institution, we had, I would say, a bitter experience where developers who had land in whatever location had approached the bank for funding of those houses without off-takers in mind ab initio. So we ended up with estates that were built in some locations that were not off-taking for the reason that they were not properly located and so on. And some of them, the off-takers...
Due diligence was not carried out.
Due diligence was carried out, but I think it's a matter of judgment. I mean, so I would not want to pass judgment on, you know, but the point I'm making is that we then decided as an institution to say, before we finance any construction, we must know from day one the individuals for whom those houses are being built. So we created what we call the Cooperative Housing Development Loan Window, where Nigerian workers, for example, both in the public and private sector, can form cooperatives and design the kind of houses they want by themselves, cost those houses according to the income of their members, and then they approach the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria to take a loan to build the houses so that we can then finance mortgages for the individual members to borrow. The second variant that we have is what we call the Ministerial Pilot Housing Scheme, where we are partnering with the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. The ministry provides land, and then the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria provides construction financing. And again, when the houses are constructed, we will also provide mortgages for the individual beneficiaries. And then the third is what I explained earlier, where we are providing bankable off-taker guarantees to developers who are willing to build houses. And what we require from them is to tell us for whom those houses are being built. So you must enter into a partnership with a group of off-takers to say we have these individuals working in ABC and they are interested in buying the houses that we will build. We have worked together to design the houses, to cost the houses, and so when we build these houses, they will off-take. So we do what we call profiling of those off-takers, check their affordability and be sure that they are willing to take those houses, and then we finance construction. So those are variants of the PPP that we are doing.
Must there be civil servants or private people who can come in and get these houses?
Both.
Okay, both.
Both public civil servants and private sector employees in the private sector, and even self-employed individuals. Or your own as a self-employed in Nigeria, you can declare a monthly income that you earn and decide on your own how much you think is 2.5% of that income and contribute to the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for 6 months, and it gives you an opportunity to apply for a mortgage loan to buy a house.
Okay, from what you have said so far, MD, it appears that the Federal Mortgage Bank has been a key driver of flagship housing projects like the Renew Hope cities in Karsana and Ibejuleki. What makes this project different from previous housing initiatives that the bank has embarked on, and how are they contributing to improve access in terms of affordability, for Nigerians?
Okay, let me start by saying that the Renewed Hope Cities and Estates program is a very major program of the government. And as you recall, the president, specifically on the 8th of June 2024, when he personally did the groundbreaking of the 3,112 housing units at Karsana in Abuja, he made a statement that he intended to turn the country into a major construction site. As you know, housing is a major driver of the Nigerian economy, or any economy for that matter. So the difference between our participation in the Renewed Hope, especially in Karsana and Ibejuleki Lagos, is that, like I explained earlier, ordinarily, in the course of our normal operations, what we were doing was for developers to approach the bank, take a facility to build houses, after which we then provide mortgages. But as you know, affordability is a function of two variables. One is cost and the other is income. Now, for you to have an affordable house, for example in Abuja, it is very difficult to build such a house in the city center. So most of the developments that were financed in Abuja, for example, are in the outskirts. So you are talking of locations like maybe Kuje some aspects of Abuja. For example, we have a development behind NTA Abubakar Police Barracks, so they are not within town. However, the New Hope Cities project are projects that are located in the town, and so what that means is that they are going to cost more than ordinarily our houses would cost. And so we decided to participate so we can give opportunities to Nigerians who are contributing to the National Housing Fund to live in those communities by enjoying cross-subsidy.
Okay, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development was the MD of
the Federal
Mortgage Bank before he became Minister. So the kind of collaboration you've been making with him, how has it reflected in access?
In fact, I must say that we consider ourselves lucky to have a minister who understands the workings of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and to a large extent the Nigerian housing sector. We have benefited a lot because a lot of our loans have been expeditiously passed because he understands where it pinches. You know that the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has been carrying a lot of, let me say, baggage. A lot of people used to complain about the bank. They don't even know how much they are contributing. They have no access to their contributions. They have not benefited from any loan and so on and so forth. Now, when the minister came, we were very clear between us and himself as to what we need to do to change the narrative about the Federal Mortgage Bank. One is for us to create enough sensitization for people to understand what we are doing. We have had occasions where people have asked us, Federal Mortgage Bank, is that bank still existing? But I think that is gradually changing.
At a point?
Yes, I know. Yeah. So now we run a program which was restored by this current management. Everyone deserves a home. Every week on NTA 8:05 p.m. on Thursdays, and on Saturdays on Channels TV by 7 p.m. So we do this to sensitize Nigerians. Now the point I'm making is that because of the sensitization, a lot more people are joining the National Housing Scheme. And so by extension, we have a lot of loan requests from individuals seeking to benefit from these facilities. So our relationship with the minister has been such that all of the requests that we send to the ministry receive immediate attention. And so we get those approvals as quickly as we want. And that is why we have almost been able to double the loan approvals between just 1 year of our coming into office, between 2023 and 2024. Before we came, total loans in 2023 was 39.7 billion. But during 1 year, we had increased this to 71.5 billion naira. You know, so I must say that that relationship has been very, very under and impacting. Then secondly, the minister has also been emphasizing on affordability. We have had occasions where he has turned down our loans for the reason that he does not believe that Nigerians can afford those prices. And that is the beauty of having, you know, the knowledge or experience of having worked in a place, and he understands the feelings of Nigerians. So what did we do? We decided to go back to the drawing board, using the instrumentality of those cooperative societies to give our contributors an opportunity to design the kind of houses they want by themselves, cost those houses by themselves. Let me say that ordinarily, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is a mortgage institution which presupposes that you have houses standing and then you provide mortgages for people to buy those houses. But because either those houses were not available or the houses available were not within the threshold of affordability to our target market, the low and medium income earners, that was why we decided to venture into construction financing so that we can control the prices at which these houses are delivered for our members. And I keep saying, in Nigeria, we have houses we do not need, and we need houses that we do not have. If you go through the streets of Abuja or any major city, you will see a lot of empty houses. Why is this? Those houses are not affordable. And the houses that are affordable are not available. And that is why we have been following the directive of the minister to make sure that we design houses that are cheaper and affordable to our target market. And accessible, yes. And
the most major.
In fact, let me explain something about accessibility. Now, number one is to meet the qualifying criteria. That is also one constraint that can affect accessibility. So what we decided to do was to remove the equity contribution. It used to be 30%. Now, if you ask an ordinary civil servant that wants to buy a house of 20 million to provide 2 million naira equity, it becomes very, very difficult for people to save. He may have the affordability to pay on a monthly basis, but may not be able to pay at once the equity contribution. So what did we do? We created a rent-to-own window where you can move into the house and pay gradually as if you are just paying your normal rent. And over a time, the house becomes yours. So we just spread the cost of the house over the number of years that you have remaining in service. Okay. And then you pay gradually. And so these initiatives are actually driven by the minister, who has been insisting on accessibility. Two is the issue of our IT transformation. When we came on board, we met an IT program that had been on for almost like 5 to 6 years. So we decided, which is the core banking application technology that the bank was deploying. So we took a bold step to make sure that whatever it took, we needed to close out and make it possible for individuals on top of their phones to be able to access our facilities. So you can actually use your phone to register with the NHF. You can use your phone to apply for a loan. And so we have a seamless transformation that is going on, that is making it possible and easy for people to access these houses.
Okay, we'll pause you there for a while we bring in the other guests into this conversation. Dr. Chime, tell us, what has been your experience, working with the Federal Mortgage Bank on affordable housing projects across the country? We know this is something that is passionate. The president is very passionate about it. So, and he's making sure that before he leaves office, maybe after 4 years or 8 years, every Nigerian will have a home, not just a house, a home, affordable, and you can live in it, or you can buy as many as you want if you have the money to buy it. So, as partners in this journey with the president, how has your experience been with the Federal Mortgage Bank? And let's talk about accessibility, your reach with them.
Thank you so much. In actual fact, many people, Nigerians, do not know that the Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria is a creation of Federal Mortgage Bank in 2002, May precisely. There was a problem of availability of houses for mortgages, and the Nigerian Labour Congress under Adams Oshomole decided to abrogate contribution of workers to the National Housing Fund. Mr. President then, Obasanjo, said, no, we can't do this. What do we need to do? I appointed the Peter Odele committee to look at it. Dr. Peter Odele was then the governor of Rivers State. Yeah. And that committee sat, and after that they said, okay, we have to do a comprehensive review of the housing ecosystem. And that was what led to the revamped FMBN then, led by Professor Akim Mabagunze. And one of the things they did was to begin to address external factors that is impinging the affordability and access to housing. Because all the factors and all the activities that will make for affordability and access to housing does not start and end in Federal Mortgage Bank. There are external parties, like the state government. There are external parties like suppliers of building material. So they created what you call the Building Material Producers Association of Nigeria to be able to see what incentive and what encouragement and collaboration that can exist with all those who are within the roadmap and the ecosystem of housing development. That has been the move over the years. Now, on the oncoming of architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa led to the revamping of that concept, because staying alone, the factor that will make for affordability and accessibility does not reside alone with Federal Mortgage. There has to be a cross-sectorial engagement with other people. So that was why when the 4 task committees and then these other ones is to look at who are the parties that can help us in actualizing this. No matter the improvement you do, 100% improvement, make Federal Mortgage Bank efficient, that will not bring down accessibility and affordability. So that led now to that broader engagement. And that is one of the beauty of what Mr. President has been able to bring in, to take us back to that 2002, 23 years ago, looking at the matter from a comprehensive perspective. And that is what is ongoing, and it is something that will lead to massive engagement. And I was playing a role in the land sector. Every development is on land. You discover, for instance, that Federal Mortgage Bank relies on documents for collateral for their mortgage loan. And that is not produced by Federal Mortgage Bank. It's not produced by federal government. 90% of the land is under the jurisdiction of the subnationals. Now, so there has to be a constructive engagement, because in the past, we have had situations where you finish a house in 6 months, but it takes 2 years to have the appropriate title to create the mortgage. And these titles are important because they provide a safeguard against default of the people. So what has happened over this period is that there has been a holistic re-engagement, I would say, re-engagement of all the factors that will lead to affordability and accessibility of land. And that engagement is taking place under the piloting of the minister. Now, those of us in the private sector, there was this agreement that, there was excessive profiteering on the part of developers. So what Federal Mortgage Bank has agreed with the private developers is, okay, we can look at this. Because we are providing the construction loan at a reasonable margin of 10%, 12%, we ourselves also take a shave in our own profit. And so there has to be an agreement to look at the bill of quantity, look at other factors, and be able to cut it down, because we have all a collective agreement, a collective objective. And that objective is to provide for Nigerians affordable home. That engagement is what has taken place over the years. That we'll sit down, no matter the sector you are coming from, if you are a mortgage bank, instead of asking for a spread of 6%, 7%, they were able to bring the mortgage banks to do only 2% spread on the mortgage loan that passes through them.
Okay.
Now, for the developers, they were able to bring down the profit margin. So this engagement was, for some time after the 2007, was whittling down, but it has come on board again. And it is going to take quite some time to be able to get all the parties to see the need for us to have massive collaboration in bringing down the prices of housing in Nigeria. That engagement also goes back to even the architects. Can we design housing that are affordable? It goes back to the building material producers. Can we have affordable building material that is locally affordable, that is not subject to the variations of foreign exchange fluctuation? So this engagement is something that I think that have been going on for some time now. A core component of those engagements is the fact that we have to ask ourselves, in the past, federal government, Federal Mortgage Bank approached the state government. In some states, the cost of the land is more than the cost of the house on it. So there has to be a robust engagement to look at the fact of what are the mutual benefits. It is the responsibility of the state government to assist in providing affordable housing for their people. In the process, they will create employment. In the process, they will create IGR for themselves. So that engagement, comprehensive, collaborative engagement, is what is ongoing today. And that involves every party that has a role to play in the housing ecosystem. And I believe that for those of us, it's an exciting thing. What is the excitement about it? The excitement about it is the fact that we appreciate that over time, there has been a paradigm shift in the approach to home ownership. 30, 40 years ago, people saved to build houses. But we have to migrate to the global trend of credit for housing, called mortgage, wherein you live in a house and you are paying for the house. Now, there are underlying structural issues that has to be tinkered with our laws, our foreclosure laws, and so many other factors. And that engagement is what requires a professional who understands all these activity centers and what we need to do. Because it's not only just one activity center, Federal Mortgage Bank. No, it is activity centers that are cut across all the stakeholder institutions that have a role to play in that transaction dynamics. And that, for me, is the engagement that will continue to go on. It will not yield an immediate result because, for instance, the engagement of the subnationals is something that takes quite a while. Because any issue of land, they say, oh, you are coming to take our land. You are trying to affect us. So, but for the citizens, precisely. So we are getting that advocacy taken down to them. Can we have a conversation about your fears? And then while still looking at the Nigerian masses who are trying to provide shelter, who are trying to provide employment through that shelter provision, who are trying to provide multiplier effect in the local economy. So these are some of the engagements that takes time. But because people are very eager to move into the house the next time, say, oh, what are you doing? We can't see what you are doing. But a lot is going on.
A lot is going on, Dr. Chime. At least we're glad that the engagement has commenced and work is on. And actually what Nigerians want to see is the houses for them to be able to afford it. Let's look at let me come to Barrister Adebayo now. Let's assess the impact of this Renew Hope Cities and Estates Development Program on the housing sector. Because a lot of Nigerians are asking what are the opportunities available for them. So you just give us your assessment of this Renew Hope Cities and Estate Development Program of the housing sector, and what opportunities and challenges do you foresee?
Thank you so much. 2 years of Tinubu's administration. I've done a lot of report on it. I've written out some news, make some write-up, made a critical appraisal of where we were, where we are, and where we are supposed to go. Housing is key. It's a serious matter. When you house your staff, when it comes to the office on the second day, that's productivity. If he has not slept well, the possibility that when he gets to the office, he'll be sleeping is there. Meaning, there's a correlation between housing and productivity. Let this will be known to you. The housing has correlation with that. Mm-hmm. If you don't live in a decent house, when I say decent, I mean habitable house. When I say habitable house, I mean house where you are protected, there's security. Not that anybody can just come and take you out. I mean a house that complies to health positively. There are some houses that comply to health negatively. Meaning, the people living there will always go to hospital. We are saying there's also a correlation between housing and health. If a government provides housing, the resources that they'll be spending on health will reduce. Go to hospitals today and see what is going on. Last week, somebody spoke with me that he was hospitalized. He's supposed to spend 3 days. They say he should go on the second day because there are some critical cases that are better, that are worse than his own. So he should continue the treatment. So housing could be used to stop or to alleviate the suffering of the people all over the world. You see the contribution of housing, the mortgage to the GDP. In Nigeria is low. I think we are talking of 5.something% now. But I think we can do better. Mr. President, on June 8th, at the groundbreaking of the New Hope set, every Nigerian deserves a home. I fell in love with him. And since then, I've been waiting for him to do what he's doing in Calabar, Lagos, Expressway, that has political backing. And it's moving like a machine to do that in housing. Housing needs political backing. The Federal Mortgage Bank we are talking about, how much does the federal government have there since they established it? The capital, from my record, as a leading promoter of housing in Africa, that the government invested 2.5 billion. And by that, I don't know the MDs whether I can confirm whether they got in another recapitalization after that. And I'm also aware that CBN is supposed to make some contribution, about 30%, as part of their own capitalization for Federal Mortgage Bank. NSITF. I must inform you here that today, I'm not here, that CBN has fulfilled its own condition. And I'm also not aware that NSITF has fulfilled its own condition. If FMBN does not have money, how would they finance? They are relying mostly on what? On National Housing Fund. The National Housing Fund Act of 1992 said very clearly that the banks must devote a particular, I think 1% of their profits after tax. Send it to FMPN so that Nigeria can be housed. Are they fulfilling it? Are they complying it at it? I remember last year I wanted to sue Central Bank of Nigeria for not ensuring that the banks comply, for not ensuring that the insurance company comply, because it is like disobeying the rules, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think I'm still going to do that, because I stopped then because I saw that the National Assembly was inviting them to come and explain why. Federal Mortgage Bank is under 2 supervisors. And I think the prudential supervisor, by the virtue of that banking element around them, is the Central Bank of Nigeria. And I think also the political and the strategic supervisor is the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. So we are talking today that houses are being built. In fact, but there, housing creates jobs. As a mobile man that go from one estate to another estate, I've seen so many people enter into estate with Okada. And after 2 years, I saw them riding their car. So that is the power of housing. The man, woman selling food. The man riding Okada. I can tell you here that you can even use housing to arrest insecurity. The man who you engaged for bricklaying job, closed by 5 o'clock, will he be able to go and be caught to do one chance again? Or will he be able to say want to go and do Boko Haram? No. He will have been tired. The little money he made, he will go home and eat, sleep, keep part of it. And then very soon, he will be thinking of having a wife. That is the effect of housing. I want to use this opportunity of my being here today to call on all the state governors who are privileged to be watching us here that housing is very important. You can use it to arrest insecurity in their state. You can use it to arrest unemployment. You can use it to do a lot of things for economic development. Let's go to the affordability we are talking about. And that is the area I want to call on for policy review. They have done well in 2 years. The minister have done a lot of engagements. Stakeholders in the housing industry, call the professional bodies and their registration board. They are now working together. Before he came, they were not. They are now working together. He appointed new chairman, new president, and everything working. Let me inform you. There being this problem of data. You know, it's a big problem in Nigeria. We always go to places and say the housing deficit in Nigeria is this. All that we know is that we are producing geometrically. We are reproducing geometrically. We are graduating geometrically. But we are not producing those houses. Even arithmetically. Because in Nigeria, I'm not sure for the whole of a year, we have succeeded in producing ordinary 70,000 houses. So the minister has come to set up a committee that will look into this of data. So as I'm talking to you, by the grace of God, in July 2025, they'll be unveiling some data about some figures on housing deficit. That's a big achievement. But to go into the area of affordability, I don't know how FNBN can finance some of those houses in the New Hope, where they don't even have the necessary resources. They capitalize them first, so that you can be able to throw stone at them for not financing your Hoftic. There's no money there. To the best of my knowledge. So maybe when I come back, I will discuss more about issue of affordability and how Nigerians, civil servants, will have access to that houses because they need it.
We need it. We definitely need it. So what are your challenges?
He has said something. Okay, I mean, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, he has outlined some challenges, that the Federal Mortgage Bank is, and I see him nodding his head. I was thinking he was going to respond to some of them. Yes.
So tell us, how do you get funding?
Okay, we are funded, like I mentioned earlier, from the 2.5% contributions from Nigerian workers. So to a large extent, we are a workers' bank. But like you said, we are highly undercapitalized because for a bank of the size and of Federal Mortgage Bank, and given the mandate that we are required to deliver, a 2.5 billion capital that has been there for like 30 years is grossly inadequate. And so, but I must acknowledge that there has been a lot of constructive engagement in this direction, to the extent that the Honorable Minister of Housing and Urban Development led us to do a presentation to the Federal Executive Council sometime last year, and FEC graciously mandated some institutions and agencies to work together for the recapitalization of the bank. And so these were the Bureau of Public Enterprises, the Federal Ministry of Housing, Federal Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank, and we are working together. We hope that very soon the ministry, because the shares owned by the federal government in the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria is actually held by Ministry of Finance. So we believe that in no distant time, the issue of recapitalization will be addressed. And once this is done, you know, we can leverage on our capital actually to raise money even from the capital market, and that is why this issue of recapitalization is very critical to us.
Okay, he also talked about a new board that has been inaugurated, bringing together diverse experiences and expertise. How important is the synergy between the board and management of the bank?
Okay, thank you very much. That's very critical. Last week, we had the board inaugurated by the Honorable Minister with individuals from diverse backgrounds. And what that does for us is that it strengthens our corporate governance framework. Because when you have a board that is overseeing your activities, it makes it much easier for us to have, issues of corporate governance addressed. Secondly, it is extremely important for the board and management to work together, because if you have a board and management that are not in sync with each other, then it will affect the extent to which we can deliver on our mandate. Don't forget that all of our loans must go to the board for approval before we are able to implement. So whatever initiatives that the management intends to implement, if you do not have the support and backing of the board, then it's going to affect what you can do. I must say that our early interaction, the board, by the way, is chaired by Dr. Nasiru Gauna, who has extensive experience in public policy and public sector management. He was one time deputy governor in Kano State and so on. And then we also have two representatives who are core professionals from the Central Bank of Nigeria, and another representative appointed by Mr. President to represent public interest, who happens also to be an accountant by profession. So we believe that the synergy that they are bringing on board, especially that we also have core professionals within our own executive management, and we were lucky to have Mr. President graciously appointing Nigerians that are square pegs in square holes. Okay. I have background in banking, and I have Echinenye Anosike from the Southeast, who is also a banker. I have Dr. M.S. Abdu as Executive Director also from the Northeast. And then we have Dr. Dojukon, who is also an expert in a transformation. So we have a very good team.
Okay, you have a very good team. Okay, MD, we have viewers have sent some questions, and which they will want you to respond to. This one says, "Good morning, MD, sir. I enjoy your program on NTA. I've contributed for 20 years to the housing, fund. How can you assist me enjoy a major long-term loan facility at your bank?" Is asking how someone can enjoy long loan-term facilities from your Federal Mortgage Bank. And this one says, "Good morning, Nigeria. Most of these houses are not benefited by low-income earners. They only sell it to ogas in civil service who already have plenty houses. And speaking from experience, they sweet talk on air and do otherwise." This one is from Jude from FCT. Actually, we asked the minister this same question last week, that most of these houses, because of the prices, the low-income earners find it difficult to afford them. So how do you intervene to ensure that the right people actually get these houses? That's what Mr. Jude is asking. Then this one says, "Good morning, NTA. My name is Ruth Agbe. How can I apply for the loan? The process to follow, please. I need it seriously." This last one, before you answer, then Jumai will read out the own. That the bank has to change its policy to cater for self-employed. Again, the percentage of serving or retiring officers that are having access is very low. People like us that have retired, we don't have access to it. Statistically, 2 out of 10 retiring officers get their contribution back on retirement. That is, most people who have contributed, they hardly get their retirement they hardly get their contribution back. That's what he's saying. Remember our slogan in the 90s, housing for all in 2000. How far? This is 25 years down the lane.
Okay, I have some questions too. It's a good morning, sir, madam.
Maybe
is this
you should
scheme...
just answer then you do now.
Because of time, we have another topic. So I...
Yeah. So you may not be able to remember. Yes.
Okay.
All right, so to the first person who asked how can he access mortgages, he can do this in 2 ways. Number one is that we have a branch in all the state capitals across the country. So if he's in any location, he can simply walk to our branch to, get some information about how he can apply. Secondly, I talked about the transformation that has happened in our place. All he needs to do is to dial ibank.gov.ng, and he can apply online to access our facility. So I don't know where he is. If he's in Abuja, we have 3 locations in Abuja. We have the head office where he can come, and then we can also guide him on how to apply. Or we have the 2 branches in the FCT area too. But I think the best way to go is probably to just try it online, and then he can apply. Then if he has any issues, he can let us know. Secondly, the issue of whether houses are given to Ogas. I think we have a seamless process, and I must say that the kind of houses we actually finance are not attractive to Ogas. That's the truth. And we target specifically the low and medium income earners. And like I explained, that is why we went into this collaboration where we're able to control the kind of houses and the prices at which these houses are delivered. And we'll be making a lot of efforts to make sure these houses are affordable and are accessible. But like I mentioned, the affordability is a function of some variables. But as much as possible, we try to make sure that our houses are cheaper and accessible all over the country. There is no institution that offers mortgages at 6%. In an economy where the commercial banks, for example, are offering mortgages at 25 to 35%, and we are talking about single digit, only the Federal Mortgage Bank does this. However, we do know that a lot of people complain because, like my colleagues have mentioned, the housing deficit is very huge. And so all of the efforts we are making is like throwing a coin in an ocean. I give you an example. Like I mentioned, if you contribute 2,500 naira for 6 months, that's 15,000. You now take a loan of 50 million or 30 million, which you do not pay back until after 25 or 30 years. Ask yourself, how much of the 2,500 will you put together to raise 50 million naira, and then you offer that as a mortgage to one person who does not pay back until after 25 or 30 years. So that's why a lot of the efforts we are making, people are not seeing. But you need to be able to interact with the bank, then you know it is possible. For example, the issue of the funds that somebody talked about, every contributor who contributes is entitled by law to collect his total contribution plus 2% interest, whether or not he enjoys a loan. And so if somebody has not collected, probably he's not aware that he needs to come and just apply to get his refund. So once you apply, we pay you, And we have accelerated this process. In those days, it used to take up to 3 months before you get your refund. Now, within 1 month, you apply, you get your refund.
Okay, you've practically, replied to most of the questions that came via SMS into, that they've asked. It's all about access to loan and all that. I'll take this one. He said, "Good morning. Happy to be part of this program this morning. My name is Christian Okegele. I was with Transcorp Hilton before we retired during COVID-19. Myself and my colleagues contributed to NHF and we didn't benefit before our retirement. The challenge we have right now is we don't know how to get our money or even the housing since we are no longer working. Please, we really need your help, sir, knowing fully well that housing is part of Renewed Hope agenda." And this man said, "Mr. Peter from Nasarawa State, please, as a local government worker who is a contributor, how can I benefit from the mortgage? housing. Thank you. And this one said, please, is there any scheme that takes care of retirees in your housing project? If not, I retired in 2022 and I was a contributor to the housing fund scheme. How do I get my contribution back? That's coming from Ruth. And one said, I'm a senior lecturer that have 11 years to retire. I only enjoyed 1 million house renovation loan, which I am repaying. Kindly assist. And I think that's about the questions I have here now.
All right. Now, to the question as to whether you can benefit if you have already retired, the answer is no. Because the contribution is structured in such a manner that you are expected to be able to enjoy a loan while you are still in active service, so that you can have a source of repayment. Once you retire and you're no longer collecting salary, then you are by law already out of the scheme. So what you need to do is just to apply and get the total refund of your contribution plus 2% interest. Now, to the lecturer who says he has 11 years, he has benefited from the home renovation loan, 1 million, which we also introduced, because we discovered that not everybody actually needs a mortgage loan. Some individuals on their own may have made efforts to build a house, and all they need is probably put some fittings and then move in. So we provided that with liberalized conditions to allow people to to benefit from the scheme. But since he has 11 years, if he's able to get a house that his income can finance, you know, the labor law indicates that you cannot contribute more than 33 1/3% of your salary to pay a loan. So if his salary can actually afford a loan which he can pay within a period of 10 years, he still has that opportunity to apply. And like I mentioned, he can actually go to any of our branches or contact us online.
Okay, thank you. I mean, so Dr. Chime, as we begin to round up this conversation.
There's still one more question.
Okay, there's still more questions.
Okay, this one says, is the right to own without equity meant only for civil servants? And if others can subscribe, what is the requirement? And this other one said, I bought a house from FNB and requested to use my national housing scheme to offset the loan since 2015. Up till now, I have not been given the document. I've tried several times. My name is Elizabeth Akinde from Lagos.
Okay, I will take note of that, but it depends on what she means by using her national housing fund to pay the loan. Because like I explained earlier, the total contribution for everybody for that matter is nowhere close to the amount of loan that you can take from what I have explained. So, but if I will take her details, so if I understand her own particular circumstance, we can solve it, and if it is repaid, we pay her. Then you talked about
rent to own without equity.
Exactly.
Is it only for civil servants?
It's for everybody that is contributing to the National Housing Fund. Okay. Yes. So the only thing we try to do in-house, you know, because if you provide it for everybody, nobody is going to take the normal mortgage. Nobody would want to pay equity if I have an option to do rent to own. So because of that, we qualify the kind of houses that you can take under rent to own, and we try to profile your income. Okay. If you are some big man working in NNPC or CBA and you say you want to do rent to own, we will be very reluctant. But if you are a civil servant where we know you have lower income and you cannot afford equity, then we'll give you the opportunity. So.
Okay, let's bring him, Dr. Chime, into this conversation now. We're rounding up in 1 minute. What improvements would you like to see in your collaboration with the Federal Mortgage Bank in 30 seconds?
Thank you so much. The improvement we need to do is to have that understanding across all the stakeholders of the need for all of us to chip in something to make for affordability for Nigerians to have the housing they need. We need the political will across all governing institutions, both at the federal government and at the subnationals. We need to have that political will to be able to tackle the challenges and the hindrances that we have in the ecosystem. My colleague have mentioned about recapitalization, mentioned about restructuring. There are a number of factors that contribute to affordability, not just within the ambit of the control of Federal Mortgage Bank. And that was what we lost since 2007 after the exit of Professor Akim Abuja. But we are now re-engaging. And what we are asking everybody, including those who are asking for the houses, I've had instances where there was a housing estate at the outskirts of Abuja.
Dr. Chime, we have to cut you. Let's just take 30 seconds from
Festus.
So sorry for that. Barrister Adebayo, your
finally, I want to call on the government to intervene in the area of building materials.
Okay.
That is how we can solve the problem of affordability. Help the developers.
Help the developers.
Help
Thank you
the
so
developers.
much. Thank you so much. Finally, Andy, your closing remark.
I would call on state governments to support Mr. President's agenda by providing land and providing infrastructure so that they can reduce the cost of houses for the benefit of citizens of their states.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shehu Usman Osidi, Managing Director, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you again.
Thank you very much.
All right. Also, we want to thank Barrister Festus Adebayo, Founder, Housing Development Advocacy Network. Thank you for your contribution. And also Dr. Ugochukwu Chime, Housing Expert and Chairman, President, Land Reform Task Team, a member, Governing Council, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's our first topic for today. The second topic will kick off immediately after this break. Stay with us.
The concluding editions of the second year of President Tinubu anniversary documentary themed The Mission, The Masons, The Milestones come up with Lifting Nigerians Home and Abroad rounds off the series at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Stay tuned to the network service of the NTA.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
When we think about the digital economy, you can see it as the marketplace for digital goods and services. And increasingly, it's becoming a force to reckon with and an incredible contributor to economic growth, because we've seen the growth in technology and digital platforms. Technology has it really permeated every aspect of life and business, the way we live, the way we work. And when we talk about the digital economy, we're really talking about leveraging technology and digital platforms in a powerful way to drive growth, to drive solutions to problems, to drive applications, and to provide services.
The digital economy is something that has the potential to help Nigeria leapfrog a lot of its development challenges, right? Because think about what the mobile phone did for Nigeria years ago. That is the potential we have for digital, because it has a way of reducing the barriers to innovation. It has a way of being able to transform service delivery, whether it's government's delivery of services or whether it's services in the health system, where people can use digital to actually be able to see their patients better. But it takes a lot to realize that potential of digital. The first thing is like every other thing, there's an infrastructure you have to build to be able to make sure that digital economy can thrive. Think of something like, capturing that happens in Nigeria, right? Where you capture, people's biometric when they go for a driver's license, when they go for passports, and each of those are separate things. Imagine a system where you're able to streamline that and actually have a platform that exchange biometric information that makes it easier for people to access passports, easier for people to register to vote. But today it's very tough, right? But those are basic infrastructure that needs to be invested in. A lot of it is through government and private sector collaborations to make it happen.
If we're looking to accelerate growth in the Nigerian space, we really need to look at enabling the digital economy. That includes providing digital infrastructure, connectivity, because that's the highway, like the highway that everything rides on.
we need to think about digital capacity building in terms of the suppliers to the economy and also the consumers within the economy. So a robust digital literacy initiative. The good thing about technology is that, one, it helps you to transcend boundaries. Two, it creates a level playing field, really, because if you create a solution, a technology-based solution that is applicable in this environment, that same technology can be applicable, exported to other environments. And, technology platforms also help drive collaboration, right? When we're thinking about innovation, when we're thinking about business growth, collaboration is an important part of that. So when we think about the impacts with the rest of the world, we find that actually technology platforms are giving us an opportunity to engage more actively, to collaborate, to create partnerships, to even export our knowledge and services for people to engage with all the great things I'm talking about technology and digital platforms. They need access, internet access, broadband access. So we need to make sure that access is more available and affordable for the average user.
The most important thing is to think about where you want to go as a country and actually what type of policies are going to help get you there. There are examples of countries who've been able to transform using digital, for example. There are very clear things those countries did to be able to make it happen. So a lot of this, the pathway to be able to solve these problems are not mysterious, right? It takes courage of the policymakers to be able to understudy some of these things and bring in the policies that work to be able to help them.
Welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and it's now time for our second topic of discussion. It promises to be a pivotal moment in Nigeria's ongoing journey towards a more secure, inclusive and united future.
And on the 3rd of June, the Voice of Nigeria Forum 2025 will hold at the Bon Hotel Octagon, Abuja, bringing together key stakeholders from across the country to address some of the most pressing issues shaping our national discourse.
And with the theme, Renewed Hope, Agenda, Citizen Engagement and National Security, this forum aims to ignite meaningful conversation, drive collaborative solutions and inspire collective action for a better Nigeria.
And it's also an opportunity to explore how citizens' involvement and national security can align with under the Renewed Hope framework, and how we as Nigerians can help shape the path forward.
So join the conversation, lend your voice, because in building a stronger, safer Nigeria, every voice truly matters. I'm now being joined by Jibrin Baba Ndache, Director General, Voice of Nigeria. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. A journalist and a broadcaster too, so you're part of the family.
And my brother, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, DG.
Thank you for what you're doing for Nigeria.
Thank you too. Thank you for at least projecting us to the outside world.
Thank you.
Now, let's be specific. What are the outcomes that you are envisaging concerning this dialogue?
Thank you very much. From the preamble that you've given, if you allow me, this is the first time that we'll be having a forum like this. It's part of the innovation that I'm bringing to bear to provide platform for national discourse, both national and international discourse, and to help reposition our brand, but to also shape narrative, like I'll say, positively, because enough of lamentation, enough of back and forth. What we set out to do is to provide a platform where conversation can be deepened, looking at what is the role of the citizen, what do the security agencies expect from the citizen, but what is also the responsibility that the citizen also want the security agents to see. And The thing is that at the end, we want solution, actionable solution. What should the citizen do in this period of what experts have called durable disorder? We are not fighting the normal war. The world, experts have said that in the last 30 years, if you look at the world, every insurgency, there are more internal strife than you have interstate war. There are few interstate wars since the 90s. So it is what experts call war among the people. So to end it, it's not just the responsibility of the security agencies alone. It's a collective responsibility, because now we're in the age where experts said the enemy is a friend. The enemy is within. It's not an enemy that wear uniform that you say this is a combatant. It's an enemy that even the security agencies are even careful to confront, because they are not real enemy in quote. They are part of the society, people who have erred and all of that. So even as they are carrying out their own responsibility, they are careful not to go overboard in doing it. Yes, there may be collateral damage that you see everywhere, but this is a war that for us as Nigerians to want it to end, we must come together. And now with the renewal agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the opportunity given to us, public media institution by the Honorable Minister of Information and Nation, where not just creating content in terms of stories and all of that, but providing platform in line with global best practices to say, look, come, let the security agencies come, let citizens come, let's engage, let's get what is the way forward. Enough of lamentation, enough of abuses, backsliding and all of that. And then we look at it, what is it that, how are security agencies treated in other parts of the world? Because if you want the best from someone, how do you treat that person? You know, you go to some developed countries, you know, even the dead, even when you lost someone, the way the dead will be treated by the citizen, you know, is motivating to those who are alive. You know, but sometimes the conduct of some Nigerians about how comments are made even about security agencies, you know, in combat. There is no war anywhere in the world, the insurgency, that there are no collateral damage. And when there are one security agency single that security agents personnel out, you don't, because security, the armed forces and other security, it's a national patrimony. It's not owned by an individual or even a government. It's not a particular government that owns the armed forces or the security agencies, but they have sworn to be dedicated and patriotic and to align with the vision and the focus of any government. So we are providing this platform to bring experts together to come, young people, traditional ruler, religious leader, and even the security agencies, and you can see the lineup from the Minister of Information and National Orientation.
What are some of the challenges that you thinking that will be addressed during this forum?
Yes, one of it, if you see, we're in the age of misinformation and disinformation, sometimes outright lie. And what I see, because again, also my own interest in the social media space, you see that sometimes because terrorists and insurgents, experts have said that there are a set of criminal non-state actors that play on the mind of the citizen. And sometimes you see someone, there will be an instance. For instance, when the military go to the battle, they don't go to battle to lose, but they don't also have control over the collateral damage. But sometimes when instances happen, you see some Nigerians eager to share the sources or whatever you call it, any damage that was done by the security. But when they also, the security agencies are also able to make some inroad, that is downplay. Particularly some of the social media users, some out of ignorance. Someone sees somewhere, share even what you call a fake video. But you are here, you don't know the agenda of the first person who created that video. You don't have the knowledge and know how to know the impact of that. You have not first checked this video, you are quick to share it. And you say, no, they have done that. No.
Yeah, that's actually a big challenge
Yes.
for most Nigerians.
Yes.
Not being able to verify
Yes.
whether that information is right or
Yes.
wrong. Okay, Juma has some
Okay,
questions.
you've you and I have been both to a degree.
Yes.
Lived there, and
Yes.
you were at the beginning of
Yeah.
Boko Haram. You were there covering it for your organization, and you saw firsthand what was happening. And then we knew how weak the military was. You can see soldiers, removing their, uniforms, throwing everything away and running away. But of recent, we've seen a different, there's a dynamic shift in the strength, of the military and the confidence of the people that, yes, we have people who can protect us. This government is saying nobody is going to die anyhow just because we cannot deliver. But we've seen how it has changed, both the kinetic and non-kinetic approach by the military. So how do you assess it now? How good is it? How safe do people feel that the military are there and they know that their lives are safe?
I can't agree with you more. And what I tell people is that, like you said, you and I have been privileged to see firsthand. For me, as an embedded, at certain point, I had nightmare because of my experience in the Northeast, seeing officers and men that maybe you have interacted with them. Next time when you go back, they come home with what the expert called body bags. So there have been significant improvement consistently, and because the military is a structure. The man who, for instance, is heading the Nigerian Armed Forces today, what at some point, either as a younger officer had served in the theater and rose to the rank up to being the theater commander, and all the other officers, the other services, that is how the military. So there has been a consistent improvement in how they are able to hold the ground. But there have also been learned lessons. What is it that happened that at that point that you said that some soldiers have to want to remove their uniform, and I think many of those gaps have been closed, and even in terms of citizen support, there have been more citizen support, more than it used to be, but there are still some Nigerians who don't understand what is up, that we are fighting a very difficult war, and like I said earlier, this war, like in other parts of the world, cannot be won by kinetic approach alone. It requires a whole people approach. It requires a whole citizen approach. We have to come together. We have to own our military and other security agencies. We have to understand that for them to even have the morale to continue to fight, and for the strategic leader to be able to feel that, yes, they have the people they are fighting for, respect them for who they are, citizens. And when they make mistake, you should be honest with them and tell them. Because one thing that, my sister, that you have also noticed, unlike maybe in the past, at least gradually, even when there are collateral damage, the military is honorable enough to own up to these mistakes. They don't hide it. And it takes a strategic leader who understands the impact of it to say, I'm sorry, because there's nowhere in the world where these things don't happen. And in my readings, and you recall one of the comments of former President of America when he visited the famous ground in France of the Normandy landing. And he said, if the Normandy landing was in the age of social media, that war would have been lost. Because literally anyone who have read about the Second World War and what the then joint commander of the General Eisenhower became president, I'm sure he wouldn't have become even American president, because literally the first special forces fighters that went down, all of them were down, and the second set had to be matching the dead of the first set of officers. But the war went on, and the Allied forces won. So there's no war anywhere in the world whether that you don't have collateral damage. And every war is won when citizens support their armed forces and other security agencies.
All right. I just want to ask, you are expecting there will be outcome from that forum. How do you intend to translate the outcome into actionable recommendations for both our policymakers and our security agencies?
Yes, if you see, for instance, there will be two panel discussions. One, beyond the comment by strategic leaders, the Minister of Information, the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defense Staff, and perhaps some retired generals who will be there and other concerned Nigerians. The first panel will be heads of civil military affairs of the armed forces and defense headquarters, Army, Navy, and Air Force and Police, and also others from other security agencies who also have opportunity to speak about this issue. And then the other panel will include the Director General of National Orientation Agency, other civil society organizations, traditional rulers, and youth organizations, corpus, because what we have done, we have invited schools, universities, secondary schools, and also traditional and religious leaders, so that the audience is an audience that is not just an audience that is just a one-way channel. There will be open discussion about it, but like I said, it's not a place for lamentation or abuses.
It's a place to find solutions.
It is a place to find solution. Anyone who want to come to that event, you are not there. It's not a political gathering. It's a gathering about Nigeria. It's a gathering about Nigerians. And we're providing this platform because Voice of Nigeria is a national institution, and with the support that we're receiving from the President and Commander-in-Chief now and the Honorable Minister of Information, we felt that we should be in the front line, not just in creating content on our various platforms, but also providing platforms like this in line with global best practice so that we can have honest conversation that is focused on that, and at the end, there will be a communique, and very actionable communique that we are going to submit to the appropriate quarters on what needs to be done and what needs to be done, and if there's a need for another opportunity for this discussion to continue the conversation, because we cannot stop talking. It is our country. We need to own it. We need to provide it, because the way we are defined, we are better than how we are defined by the people. Our contribution, both on the African continent and around the world, it's being diminished by how we are framed, particularly on both the social and some traditional media platform.
Okay, so where is this event taking place? When and what time? So that is it accessible?
Yeah.
Can you just walk to the place and
it's by invitation, but people can join because it will be live streamed. We also intend to join some radio stations across the country. Of course, it will be beamed live on NTA. Thank NTA for that support. It will be Born Octagon Hotel here in Abuja. It's a new hotel in Jai, a serene environment. So you are welcome. If you can join us, you can
join via Zoom.
Via Zoom. 9 o'clock. It is going to start at 9 o'clock. Registration. We want the guests to be seated so that we manage time very well, and then we deepen discussion.
What are the special guests for that forum? You are expecting
special guests. The Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, is the chief host. The chairman of the occasion is the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuri Badu, MNI. Then the special guest of honor is the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is the guest of honor. And then we're expecting other serving and retired military and paramilitary officers and other civilians who are concerned and focused on solution on solving the problem of of our great country.
So what is your expectations for this?
Well, I expect that those that will come to have honest discussion. The discussion will be focused on how to move our country forward. The discussion will be in line with the Renew Hope agenda of the President. We have been given the opportunity, and the President always said, it is for us, the younger people, and those coming behind us. So we cannot join the fray of lamentation. Countries are built by its citizens. We have the opportunity, we are providing it for young people, Many young people, even in diaspora, are willing to join us. There's a group, the under 30 CEOs, that are joining us, other youth. Many of the university are coming with selected students, secondary school, and many Nigerians all across, some civil society organizations. So we expect that, like I said, we don't expect anyone to come there and lament. We have had enough of that lamentation.
We have had enough of
no
that.
Lamentation.
No lamentation.
No lamentation. No abuses. It's not providing platform for you to abuse. If you want to abuse, go and create your own. This platform we are creating is how to solve Nigerian problems.
Solve Nigerian problems.
Support to the renewal agenda of the President and Commander-in-Chief.
Solve Nigerian problem and change the narrative.
And change the narrative.
And the mindset.
Yeah, the mindset of Nigeria. Because
thank you so much, DG. You are lucky to be here today because we are celebrating 11 years of Good Morning Nigeria today.
Yes, congratulations. Even though in the past I didn't have the opportunity to be on Good Morning. Yeah, I was on Good Morning Nigeria at some point too, and then Tuesday Live. Then Hajia was in Maiduguri. Yes, the first time I was in Good Morning Nigeria was from the Kaduna
Network Center.
So I'm privileged today to be here, and I'd like to, on behalf of the management and staff of Voice of Nigeria, commend all of you for what you do. I was just discussing with some of the team members outside. I said, when you see, for those of us who come to studio, when you see programs on, it's like food at the table. You don't know what the
how it's cooked.
How it is cooked. The person may have burned his or her hand, and the same thing with the studio. What goes to ensure that this program go on? People are working. You won't see them, but they are the one that ensure that we are on this program. I also like to commend them for what they are doing, and use the opportunity again to thank the President and Commander-in-Chief and the Minister of Information for the support that all public media institution is getting now, and to assure the President and the Minister that will remain committed and desirous of using this opportunity to position these institutions.
Okay. You have totally taken the words out of our mouths. Thank you so much, DJ, for that.
So, Malam Jibrin Badai, DG Voice of Nigeria, thank you so much.
And you are invited.
Okay, we'll try to be there.
I know you will be busy because you'll be here tomorrow.
And it's 11 years today, and so to all of us, those of us on TV, you've seen us, those behind the scene and all that, and all our guests who have contributed to the success of this program, we thank you so much for your contributions. We appreciate you. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. I am Juma Yusuf. Do have a wonderful week ahead.
And I'm Ademola Ade. Thanks for staying with us.